Hello again, thanks for joining. Here's what we've got coming up in this episode. We're reviewing this Bachmann model. It's number 32452 and it's a Class 170 Turbostar in Southwest Trains livery. Let's check it out. So here we have both models in their boxes. It's a two-car DMU, this one. So there's two boxes here with a power car and a trailer. A nice looking box, deep blue colour, and it has the Bachmann branch line logo on them. I bought both of these second hand and the boxes are looking not too bad. They've got some shelf wear on the edges here. You can see a few little scuffs. But overall these are looking pretty good. So let's open these up and see what we've got inside. So I'm going to start off with the heavier of the two. This is obviously the power car. So inside we have this card which has a picture of the real DMU there and also some more details again of this being a Class 170 two-car DMU. On the back of the card there is a technical drawing of the 170 and a brief history of this DMU. I actually did a documentary about the history of the Class 170. I think it's a bit more comprehensive than what you see here, so I'll put a link to it in the description below and you can check that out as well. We also have a guarantee, a form to fill out if you want to join the collectors club, and this sheet is an exploded view of the model showing all the parts that make up this one. The model is held here in this polystyrene tray. It's quite secure and it looks pretty good. I don't think it's been damaged at all. So let's get this out and take a look. So starting off at the front here with the cab, you can see that this paint job has a lot of different parts to it and each of these colours has been applied really well. The definition on the lines here, there's no fuzziness or anything, and you can see that it extends around the curve of the front of the cab without any problems whatsoever. These lights at the front have a really nice silver surround. I think they must light up as well. I'll check that out in a little bit when we put this on the test track. You can see the number there, 170301, and that's a transfer I guess, but it's really quite nicely applied there. The windows are tinted and they have the black surround. They also have these additional windscreen wipers attached as well, and they're very delicate. They could easily break off, but they're very nicely done. There's also this orange line which runs all the way around the front of the cab and joins up with this line just between the roof and the side of the body. I'm not sure whether that's meant to be the same thickness, but it isn't here. You can see that it's slightly thinner on the front. That seems odd that that would be the case because the rest of the paint job is very good, so maybe that's by design. There's some nice detail molded into the plastic here, and this door surround picked out in black is very nicely done. There's also black around the window here. It looks as though a little bit of it has been rubbed off here. Maybe that's been the previous owner because I did get this second hand. I wouldn't think that would be from the factory. It seems unusual. And then you can see the windows here. Each of them are tinted with a black surround. So that's very prototypical, but it looks really good. It does obscure views into the interior of this, and I can actually see as we move further down that you can see the motor in the middle. There's no interior to see anyway, so the tinted windows hide that quite nicely. These doors have been presented really nicely. They've got the black surround. You can see a little bit of a problem here down at the bottom just by this step, that the black hasn't gone all the way to the bottom of the model. There's these really nice stickers on the doors as well, and you can even see the yellow where the push button for the opening the pneumatic doors is being modelled and picked out. Here you can see the logo Southwestern Trains. That's been applied very nicely. I think that's a transfer. Further down there's the second set of doors which are very similar to the first set, but they do have the addition of this bicycle and wheelchair decal added here, but that's a really nice attention to detail. Further down as well you see the number here 50301, and there's also these other little flashes of warning panels on the most lower part of the body as well. So it's really quite nicely detailed. There's a lot of things going on with this model which make it really appealing. When you get to the back you can see the chrome exhaust stack there. There's some warning flashes being added on there as transfers, and also this set of details about this carriage. That's so finely detailed you can't really read it with the naked eye, but you know, it's quite amazing that they managed to get a transfer that small. The rest of the moulding here at the back looks very detailed and there's a lot going for it. The gangway here and even the model of the doors there as well. Looking up at the roof, it's this nice dark grey colour, and there's a lot of detail here as well of various vents. This one's got a lot of deep relief to it, and you can see down inside the cab there. And then there's this part here where it has another really nice vent there. There's another vent down here very similar to the one at the front of the carriage, and there's some nice details here like the rivet detail around this part here that's been moulded into the roof. Looking down below the body at the front you have a fake coupler which looks really convincing. There's I think those are the horns for the 170 down here as well. And then there's this panel here, which I think is maybe like a water or snow catcher or something. And then you can see these bogies with the air system that they've got. So there's a lot of deep relief on this bogie. It's molded into the plastic. Again, as we move down the length of the carriage, you can see all the various boxes and the engine further down here. There's been a great attention to detail of all the little parts of the 170 that's on display here, and it's all been captured in this plastic. The final bogie at the back is very similar to the first one, but it has an integral coupling here, and it's got an M pocket, so you can change that if you want. It looks quite close coupled as well. There's not much distance between it and the end of the carriage. So underneath the bogie here, you can see Bachmann made in China, and it has pickup on all these wheels here, and all these wheels are driven as well. And at the front, it's the same again, that the wheels are all driven and they all pick up. So that's the power car. Let's have a look at the trailer. So this is much lighter than the power car. There's obviously no motor in this one, but it looks very similar, and it's held also in this polystyrene tray really well. Let's get it out. So looking at the front of the trailer here, it's got the same number, 170301, and there's a lot of detail here which is very similar to the driving car. That's unsurprising because it's probably the same moulding. Obviously these bogies don't have any drive in them, they're free to revolve. But they do have pickup, so it looks as though it has some lights or something. It's probably the lights at the front of this carriage. The glazing is also smoked on this one, but unlike the driving car, this actually has an interior but you can just see there. You're probably not going to see that on your layout when it's moving around. So as we move down the side of the carriage, you can see that it's very similar to the driving one, but there are some little subtle differences. These doors at the back here do not have the cycle and wheelchair sticker that the other one had. That's a real close attention to detail that they've, and here the number 79301. But aside from that, this model is the same as the driving car. So let's see if we can give these a go. Okay, so we've got this on the test track. Let's give it some power and see what happens. So it runs incredibly smoothly, so that's really cool. It didn't need a push or anything. I did notice it has a little bit of a squeal when it goes round corners in reverse. I'm not quite sure why that's happening. I think it might just need a little bit of oil. I'm not sure how old this model is. I did buy it second hand, so it could have been sitting in its box for some time. But I'm really impressed with the smoothness and how quiet this model is. So I did notice here when I coupled up the trailer to the power car that when it transitions from one corner to the other, there's quite a lot of swing on the coaches. You can see here that there's quite a lot of distance between each of these two. That doesn't really look very prototypical, and it's also going to have some issues if you've got stuff close to your railway track. So that's one thing to consider if you want to get these models. This is third radius Hornby track that I'm using here, so it's not even first radius. So you might have problems on your layout if you're trying to use these models. So the test run was quite successful there. It does have a little bit of squeal. I think it needs a bit of oil, but it certainly runs very quietly and it didn't have any problems at all getting going. Let's open up the power car and have a look at the mechanism. So it looks as though there are two screws holding this model together, one here at the front and there's another one at the back. So we'll just need to take those out and then we can open this up. One of the neat things this model has is this multi-plug here, which allows you to detach the body from the chassis without any hassles. I've not seen that before. It's maybe manufacturers have started to do this more often. Looking at the chassis now, you've got this little circuit board at the front, these blue plastic parts here which are a representation of seating, but they're not very convincing, and also you've got this massive motor here, so you're not going to be spying inside this model, but here you can see the large motor. It's got two flywheels as well. So here we're looking at the back bogie, and you can see where the shaft comes through here to this screw, and then it applies power down through the gearbox to the wheels. So it's quite a neat setup. It's obviously 8-wheel drive here, and it'll give a lot of traction. It only needs to pull one other carriage, but I think you could pull quite a lot of wagons with this if you wanted to. Interesting here on the inside of the body, you can see that there's some red overspill from the painting of the doors, and even some little splatters here on the side of the body. And you can also see some fuzziness down the edge here of the blue onto the white of this body. So while the paintwork has really been very well applied to the outside of this model, it has had some compromises when it's been manufactured. You don't really see any of this when the model's back together, but if it had clear glazing you might do. So I think this model is being saved by having this smoke glazing. When this model's been designed, there's been a lot of thought given to the cabling and how to hide it from view. You can see that it's down here in this little trench under here and goes each side of the flywheel to the motor. Here you can see a little circuit board attached on top. It says PCB03. I'm not quite sure what that's doing. I don't think it's got any provision for DCC on this model, and I can't see a socket anywhere to easily add one onto this, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem if you wanted to do that, and certainly enough space inside this carriage to be able to hide a decoder. Anyway, I think we've done everything we wanted to inside this model today, so let's get this back together. That was easy getting those back together, and the magnetic screwdriver certainly helped a lot, especially at the front. Anyway, let's see how much these weigh. So the power car weighs 441 grams, and the trailer weighs 177 grams. So this model from Bachmann, the Class170 Turbostar, really looks quite fantastic in my mind. It's got a lot of nice detail to it and a really good paint job. This one at Southwestern Trains has quite a colourful design. The white, the black and the blue down the side of the carriage really stands out as being quite stylish, and there's quite a lot of detail around the driving compartments at the front of the train. And even though it's a complicated paint job, Bachmann have managed to pull it off quite superbly, I think. There's lots of different liveries for the 170. I'm a bit biased on this. I actually think the ScotRail livery is better than this one, and I would prefer to have a ScotRail version of this Class 170. But this particular one, the Southwestern Trains, is very good. Mechanically, the power car has a great drive system. It's got a large motor and flywheels, so it's going to have no problem pulling itself and its trailer along. It's got dummy couplings which are very convincing at the front. Some of the other things I really like is the silver around the lights at the front. The windscreen wipers are very delicate and neatly moulded, and I really like the effect of the grills on the roof of the train. And also down below, the bogies and the engine are very detailed as well. There's a lot of attention to detail in the design of this model that has been observed and recreated here. So what's my recommendation on this model? I think if you're interested in getting this, you're going to have a model railway layout which can handle coaches of this length. Modern railways do have longer vehicles on them. If your layout is quite extensive, these would make a great addition to it. I think if you've got a smaller layout, tight curves are going to be a bit of a compromise for this. It did stay coupled up, but it doesn't look very realistic when it's moving through the curves. So overall, I think if your layout can handle it and you're modelling modern image railways, then the Bachmann Class 170 is really worth getting. You see them everywhere on the railways these days, so you can't go wrong with having a set on your layout. I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. Let me know what you thought about this video and my analysis of these models in the comments below. I'd really be interested to hear what you think. Please give this video a thumbs up, it really helps this channel, and you can subscribe for more videos like this in the future. But for now, that's it for today. See ya!